Welcome everyone to 3 on 3 Blazers. I am Nate Hanson alongside Jared Cowley. Max Barr is also back for this podcast. He's on the ones and twos. We are still without one of our members though, our man Orlando Sanchez, who was in Denver yesterday for the Blazers Game 7 win over the Nuggets. He didn't even come back home to Portland.
Nope, headed to Oakland.
Just headed straight over to Oakland, the Bay Area, for Game 1 of that series, since, we're just a little over 24 hours from a new series beginning.
Quick turnaround.
Not much time to celebrate here if you're the Blazers.
Well, welcome back, Max and Nate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Back from vacation.
Good to be back.
Nice, fun, relaxing time for you guys, and the Blazers took care of business while you guys were gone.
They did, and this was great for me.
Yeah, really good for you.
Really good for me, because... we're doing this podcast. It's going to be like most of our other postseason ones. We're just kind of going to top of our head what we kind of think. But Jared, before we started this, made a few bullet points, maybe as a road to keep me on track, because if I go off on, I sometimes can go a different direction.
Tangents.
And yes, and so the first bullet Jared has here is Nate's foresight. That's the first thing he wants to lead off with. And I told Jared, this is the best way ever to lead off our podcast.
I figured, one, I can get it out of the way and get it, right off the top, just let it go. I'm just gonna sit here quietly and let you brag because you deserve it. I think you were exactly right about everything in that series.
I would stay general enough through the first two games, because actually I thought the Blazers would win Game 1 and the Nuggets would win Game 2. But you didn't say that.
You just said,
they would split the first two games. But after that, I picked every game correctly. And so that series, to me, when I went into that series before it began, I thought these are two extremely evenly matched teams. I thought Denver was a little more talented, and I still think that's probably the case. But I said I thought Portland's experience, and I said I trust Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum more than anyone on the Nuggets if a Game 7 come around. And while Lillard struggled yesterday, CJ McCollum stepped up in a huge way.
Yes, he did. Yeah, you were just spot on. So I'm interested to see what you say about this upcoming series. Speaking of CJ McCollum, that was another bullet point for us. Obviously, we need to talk about the 37 points in Game 7. Just carried the Blazers. I mean, they started the game, 0 for 10 from the three-point line. Never got on track. Never, shot the ball well. But CJ was good from the beginning. And what CJ did that was so impressive is he took 2 three-pointers, and they were kind of early in the game. And then he went away from that and started either attacking the rim or attacking off the dribble to get, those sweet pull-up mid-range jumpers that he's so good at. And that showed a lot of intelligence on his part because, one, the officials were calling the game very tight. And so he recognized that, and the team did too, especially in the second quarter, that the Blazers were going to need to attack the rim and be aggressive and benefit from the way the officials were calling the game, and they did. And CJ knew that he could get to those open spots that he's able to create in the mid-range and get good looks when nothing else was falling. And he carried the Blazers. He put them on their back. On his back.
To your point, he was 17 of 29 yesterday, but he only made 1 three-pointer.
Yeah.
So that means the other 16 shots that he made were 2-point shots, which in today's NBA...
It's not supposed to be a good thing.
Yeah, it's unheard of to see something like that. But that's what CJ... We've seen throughout this season and the last couple seasons, he loves that spot right around the free throw line. Yeah. He loves getting to that spot, and if he can get there in rhythm and pull up, it's most likely going to go in. And in the Denver series, he was consistently effective at that the entire series, and he was dating back to the Oklahoma City series as well. You can argue that he's been their most consistent player through the playoffs, and yesterday, I almost told you this after the quadruple overtime Game 3 win where CJ pretty much carried the Blazers through the fourth quarter and the early overtimes. That was the CJ game, but I held off because Rodney Hood hit that huge shot in the fourth overtime. And I'm glad I held off because Game 7 yesterday, that was CJ. That was the CJ game right there.
Yeah, and I think that when Dame hit the 37-footer to end the Thunder season, there was talk about that being a bad shot.
Yeah.
But for Dame, it wasn't because he takes those long three-pointers and shoots them efficiently. The same is true with CJ in the mid-range. most people say the mid-range shot is the least efficient shot that you can take in the NBA. But with players like CJ who are so good at it and so efficient, it's not a bad shot. It's basically like a layup for him.
Yeah.
And so he was doing what needed to be done. And what we've seen in these first two series is the stars have carried the Blazers, and that's what needed to happen. You had Dame carry the Blazers in the first round, and CJ was very good in the first round too. Yeah. And I think you're right; he's been their most consistent player. And then CJ really carried them to victory in this series.
Yeah.
Dame did not play as well, and CJ stepped up.
I mean, CJ has averaged this postseason more than 25 points per game. He shot 45% from the field and 40% from three.
Yeah.
And this is a guy who, at the beginning of the season, was very open that he wanted this to be an all-star type season for him. That was a goal he had set out before the year. And really, the first half of the season, you could say he didn't play up to what he had played the couple seasons previous.
Yeah.
And I know you were a bit critical of him at times, and he deserved it.
Yeah.
He didn't play his best ball, but we've seen it come around since the injury. And that was the other question, too, with the Blazers going to the playoffs. Like, CJ has played so well, you forget that he missed pretty much the entire end of the regular season. He got back in for a couple games at the end of the regular season just to get his feet underneath him. But since he's come back from this injury, it's been the best CJ we've ever seen.
Yeah, that's really true. And he said he wanted this to be an all-star season, and maybe it is in a roundabout way where he's getting more visibility in the playoffs and performing at probably the highest level we've ever seen him perform, and maybe that will lead to him getting all-star consideration next season with this extra visibility.
I think he'll take the Western Conference Finals berth over an all-star game appearance any season. So the other thing I want to ask you about here of Game 7 before we transition and move ahead to the Warriors is what else stood out to you from yesterday's just historic, monumental win for the Blazers?
So much. I mean, there was so much in that game when I was covering it here in the office yesterday and updating our reporter notebook. It was so hard to keep track of everything that was happening in that game. I mean, it was just, there are so many different subplots. I think I just have to credit Evan Turner.
Absolutely.
I mean, he was outstanding in the fourth quarter, 10 points in that fourth quarter, got a lot of rebounds, hit his free throws. And Terry Stotts, he played a really good Game 6, and Terry Stotts went out of his way in his post-game interview to credit Evan Turner, because everybody was talking about Zach Collins and Rodney Hood, and Terry Stotts went out of his way to say Evan Turner, he didn't score any points, he didn't take a shot, but he had a very good game.
He had 7 rebounds and 7 assists in Game 6.
And Stotts stuck with him in Game 7, and it was so important because Rodney Hood got injured, and Stotts went to Turner to kind of replicate the role that Rodney Hood, outside of the three-point shooting, was giving the Blazers, where he was scoring in the post and taking advantage of mismatches against smaller Denver defenders. And Evan Turner did that almost to perfection in the fourth quarter.
And I'm so glad you went back to Game 6, because that's really where it began for Evan Turner. After that game, I think Zach Collins commented about how Evan Turner was one of the biggest factors for them winning that game. And I saw in a different article, I don't know if it was after Game 6 or if Aminu said it after Game 7, but he said following Game 6, he texted Evan Turner and told him, you're the reason we won that game and are advancing. So the players in that locker room, it was either Collins or Aminu said it, they said just him being able to handle the ball and take that workload off of Dame and CJ for even a possession or two at a time is a big deal, because they were having to work outside on the perimeter in this series against Denver. They were challenged in a way they weren't challenged against Oklahoma City. And then the other thing he did well was defensively, he was able to match up against Paul Millsap, a guy who they had struggled to stop through the first 5 games.
He had struggled. There were times in the first 5 games where they put Turner on Millsap, and he struggled to defend him as well. And something clicked, like you said, in Game 6, and he defended Millsap very well in both Game 6 and 7.
In Game 7, I think Millsap was only 3 of 13 from the field, and it's a weird, Evan Turner talked about it after the game, you just got to be ready for your time. Because the only reason he got that many minutes yesterday was because of the injury.
Up on the bench, not getting the starting nod to start the second half, and he came out and he was ready, just like Turner.
And I think Terry Stotts deserves some credit for doing that. And he also did not sit CJ or Dame in the second half. Whereas the Nuggets, Mike Malone sat Jokic for the first couple minutes of the fourth quarter, and the Blazers were able to build up a little bit of a lead, like a 5-point lead, which in that series felt like a 10-point lead for the most part.
For sure.
Because it was so evenly contested. Anything else you want to talk about before we move ahead to the Warriors here?
No, I think that's good.
All right, well, let's move
Say
ahead.
goodbye to the Nuggets.
Say goodbye to the Nuggets. Well put. So let's say hello to the Golden State Warriors.
Hello,
here.
Warriors.
Hello. The Blazers, obviously we know the Blazers have played the Warriors a few times recently in the postseason. The Warriors getting the better of Portland. I believe they won the last 6 playoff games against the Blazers. But in the regular season the last couple of years, the Blazers have had a little bit of success. Last year they were 2-1 against Golden State, and this year they split the 4 matchups. Is there anything from the regular season that you think could translate here to the postseason for the Blazers?
Yeah, some things. Not a lot, though, because the Blazers played all 4 of those games with Yusuf Nurkic, and they don't have Nurkic. They played all those games without Enes Kanter. They have Kanter now, and he's playing really well. But I think there were some things, potentially the way Damian Lillard performed against the Warriors, the way C.J. McCollum performed this season against the Warriors, and then also a little bit of looking ahead to what impact Zach Collins might have in the Western Conference Finals. I mean, you look at his stats against the Warriors this season; they're, nothing to look at. But we all remember that moment he had where he really impacted the one of the Blazers' wins against the Warriors. I think it was the last game they played against them right before the All-Star break.
The fourth quarter where they ran away with it.
His defensive impact in that game was huge, and one of the few times I've ever seen anyone get under Klay Thompson's skin. So, and I think there are some things you can take from it, but not a lot. I think that, especially with a team like the Warriors, they're the kind of team that does flip a switch once the playoffs start. So I think that what they're doing in the playoffs is more indicative of what you'll see than necessarily those 4 games against the Blazers in the regular season.
That's fair. And you talked about who the Blazers won't have going into this playoff matchup. The Warriors, they won't have Kevin Durant at least for Game 1.
Right.
And probably likely won't have him for Game 2 either.
Yeah.
So what type of impact do you think that could have here for the Blazers as they try, to pull off a huge upset in this series?
I think it gives the Blazers a big opportunity to try and steal one of the first 2 games in Oakland. I think that the Warriors showed in Game 6 against Houston that without Durant, they can kind of switch up the way they run their offense so it looks a little bit more like the Warriors' run-and-gun style from before Durant.
The Warriors of old.
Right.
Yeah.
And be effective. I mean, on offense in that Game 6, they were very good.
Yeah.
But you can't dismiss the impact of Kevin Durant. I mean, he's their best player. He's, arguably a top 2 player in the NBA, I'd say.
Yeah,
Maybe the best player
I
in the
think
NBA
it's fair
right
to
now.
say he's the best player right now this season. Yeah.
And he's the anchor of their defense. All respect to Draymond Green, who lost a lot of weight before the playoffs and has been very good in the playoffs and looked like vintage Draymond Green, as a playmaker and as a defender. Durant he's everything to the Warriors' defense, to the point where I think that without him, I don't think they're a very good defensive team. And so I think, for me, the biggest impact of not having Durant is that I think the Blazers will have an easier time scoring.
Yeah.
And if they do win one or, even both of these games in Oakland, I'm not saying that's what I think is going to happen, but if they are to do that, it'll be in a shootout because that Game 6 against Houston, the Warriors did win, but they got torched on defense in that game. They only won because their offense was so dynamic.
And I think the Blazers are going to have to win shootouts if they're going to win games in this series, because just not because the Blazers, aren't good defensively, but just because of the opponent.
And the Blazers aren't that good defensively. I think that's okay to say.
And if you look at the regular season, too, for the most part, they were all shootouts. The Blazers had to score, 110 or 127 points, whatever, to win those games. So I think that's a fair expectation that they're probably not going to win any games like we saw yesterday in Game 7, where it's 196 and the Blazers shoot 426 from 3 and come out victorious. I don't think that's going to happen. As to the Kevin Durant thing, I'm kind of in the minority, I am in the minority on this, and I'm not trying to be dismissive of how good of a player he is, but the Warriors have been really, really good in the time since he's been there when he doesn't play, but Steph Curry still plays. And the plus-minus numbers show it. For the Warriors, They're about +2 when Curry doesn't play, but Durant's still able to play. But when it's the other way around, Durant's out and Curry's still playing, they're +12 during games during this now 3-game stretch that they've been together as teammates. And I think their offense is a little more free-flowing, and they're a little bit of a different team, but I think offensively they'll continue to score. And so for me, I don't see this as a huge... Like, if the Blazers make this series competitive and get it to 6 or 7 games, I'm not going to sit back and say it's because they didn't have Kevin Durant for a game or two. I think it'll be because the Blazers are playing well. And so for me, I agree with you that defensively is where they would miss him the most. And his length with the Blazers guards, I mean, think about, they're probably going to have Klay Thompson and Andre Iguodala try to guard Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum probably.
Oh, yeah.
Beyond
They're
that,
going to try and hide Curry on one of their forwards.
On Aminu or Harkless, but beyond that, I mean, who else could they put on him? Kevin Durant was a guy you could potentially put on one of those two players defensively. And you mentioned Draymond Green, and I just want to put this out there because he's been really good against the Blazers, specifically defensively. And do you think that that's something, I believe he has the most career blocks of any opponent is against the Blazers.
Yeah, I read that.
So do you think that's a trend that will continue, or do you think there's something the Blazers might be able to, be better at this go-around?
That's a good question. I think Draymond's been very good in the playoffs. I think he's been a lot better in the playoffs than he was during the regular season. And he does seem to have something against the Blazers where he performs even better than normal. I think he's going to be his normal, effective disruptor on defense.
Yeah.
I think that he will give the Blazers problems on defense because that's what he does. I also think that Enes Kanter, I think, can have an impact on offense and offensive rebounding against Draymond Green.
Absolutely.
I don't think that when we started the playoffs, everyone said Kanter can't play.
Yeah.
He's going to get played off the court because he can't guard the pick and roll, and that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And then the Denver series came, and everyone said, well, OKC wasn't that good at the pick and roll. Now we're going to see Kanter get played off the court. He can't hang with Yogesh. He's not going to be able to deal with the Jokic-Murray pick and roll, and that didn't happen. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not saying he was perfect in the series against Denver, but he was on the court.
Yeah.
They had to have him on the court, and a lot of times he hurt the Nuggets just as much as they hurt him. And I think that's what we're going to see against the Warriors as well. I think that their spread pick and roll is going to be difficult for Kanter.
Yeah.
He's not good in space. He doesn't move his feet well. But on the same token, I think that he's going to be a menace on the offensive boards against Golden State, which is a problem that they have.
Yes.
And I think he's going to be able to score in the post because they don't have any
one to guard him.
Yeah. They don't have any good defenders in the post. Mm-hmm. As good as Draymond is, as a one-on-one defender in the post, he's not that great. He's better as a help defender and kind of holding down the fort overall. If you look at Kanter's splits against the Warriors in his career, 24 points, 14 rebounds per 36 minutes.
Oh, man. Okay.
Okay, per 36 minutes, and 54% field goal shooting. So he's been very effective against them, and I think that will continue. So, yes, Draymond's going to be good defensively, but I also think that the Blazers can counter that a little bit with Kanter on offense.
For a Blazers fan, those numbers you just said has to be encouraging because Jusuf Nurkic has been very good against the Warriors and was really good against them during the regular season matchups. So it's nice to know that Kanter has also had success against the Warriors in the past, even though it was with different teammates.
And that's why I went with his per 36 numbers because he averages about 21 minutes against the Warriors in his career, but he's playing 32.
Yeah, he's going to be playing 30-plus minutes a night
in the playoffs. So that's more indicative of what he might be able to do.
Okay, well, this is what we do towards the end of the podcast before we get to our favorite game. It's prediction time here.
That's right.
You've done okay in predictions so far. You said first round. You said Blazers in 7 against OKC, and you said Blazers in 6 against the Nuggets. Which I mean, you correctly picked the winner in both series. Orlando and I have not done that. Despite us, although we got it right last time. Orlando and I both said Blazers in 7 going on the road to get that Game 7 victory. So, Jarrett, It's the Golden State Warriors now this go-around for a trip to the NBA Finals. How does it shake out?
It's hard looking at the stats for the Warriors in the playoffs on offense. They ranked first in offensive rating, first in effective field goal percentage, first in true shooting percentage, first in field goal percentage, first in three-point percentage.
You're saying they're pretty good.
They're really good on offense. But also, they're not good on defense.
No.
They're averaging 112 points, giving up 112 points per 100 possessions. That's 12th among all 16 playoff teams. And without Durant, they're a lot worse. 114 points per 100 possessions without him in the lineup. And in that Game 6 win, like I said, their defensive rating without him was 115.3. I think if Durant is out for more than 1 or 2 games, I think if he doesn't come back, I mean, if this lingers and he doesn't come back until Game 5 or something
which is a possibility.
It is absolutely a possibility. I think the Blazers have a chance against a Warriors team without Durant. But I think if Durant comes back, say, in Game 3, then I just think they're too much for the Blazers. As great as this run has been, I don't think he's going to be out that long, so I'm going to pick the Warriors in 6.
In 6, you say. So you think the series ends here at the Monta Center?
Yeah.
The Warriors come here for Game 6 and get it
I think
done.
that the Blazers could win one here and maybe one, in Portland. But I think that the Blazers, I don't know, I just think that they look tired.
They did.
You've seen that against Denver, and I don't think that's going to get any better.
Well, they look tired against Denver, and I think that will be one of the reasons they lose tomorrow to Golden State. And I'm not even sure if Game 1 will be all that close tomorrow against the Warriors, just because this quick turnaround for a team that, that was a tough, gritty series. Max asked before that series could live up to the intensity of Oklahoma City. It still probably didn't, even though it went to 7.
I don't think so.
But it was arguably the most fun series of the entire postseason that we've seen so far. And
part of a really incredible second round of NBA playoffs.
Yeah, and so I think the Blazers may have a little bit of a hangover here going into the Western Conference Finals. And Dame talked about this, about the Western Conference semifinals. That in the past he thought the Blazers, after getting out of the first round, felt satisfied just getting to the Western Conference semifinals. And I fear that may be the case a little bit this season, just getting to the Western Conference Finals. We saw the emotions Damian Lillard had immediately after the game. We know how much just getting to this spot meant to them, but there's still more work that needs to be done. So I'm interested to see how they kind of turn over and focus and get zeroed in on this series. So I think they lose Game 1, but I think they're going to win Game 2. Yeah. And that gives them a shot. If you can split with the Warriors in the Bay Area in the first 2 games, you have a shot in this series. I think if you lose both of them, you're probably done if they lose both of these first 2 in Oakland, because that would mean they'd have to win 4 out of 5 against the Warriors to win the series. In terms of the end result, though, I'm exactly where you are, and I battled with this, but I'm going to say Warriors in 6 also, just because I believe the Blazers will get Game 2 in Oakland, and then I think they'll win either Game 3 or 4 here. But we saw the Warriors with the Rockets. It doesn't really matter that Game 6 is on the road. I think to go back to an old favorite term of ours, when they sense blood in the water, they go after it. And so I'm with you. I think the Warriors are just going to be too much here. And if the Blazers, you never like to lose. No. But if they go down in 6, that's a respectful outcome. They're playing with house money at this point.
Yeah, and I think to build off of what they've accomplished, it would be good for them to be competitive in this series, even if they don't win. I think that if they get swept by the Warriors, for example, I do think that would dampen a little bit of the enthusiasm for what they accomplished leading up to this point, even though it's so much more than anyone expected. Yeah. So I think that for them to really kind of make all this count, unfortunately, it's unfair, but I think that they need to at least be competitive in this series.
And it can really be used, we talk about the Blazers and we talk about the long arc, Damian Lillard's prime, trying to win an NBA title. Yes. And obviously, this is the closest they've ever gotten since Damian Lillard's been to Portland. But if they don't win this series, then you want to use it kind of as a measuring stick to see how close are we
and what else
to these
do we
guys,
need?
And what things did we struggle at? What do we need to get on this team so that we could potentially get over the hump if they lose to the Warriors. Now, if they beat the Warriors, man.
I don't even know.
Oh, man. I can't even imagine what the Rose City will be like.
It's a fever dream right there.
It is. So Max, you've got the Warriors then winning as well?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
6 or maybe 5, but I'm in lockstep with you guys.
I think that's fair. And Orlando he's flying out to Oakland tonight, but he sent me his pick as well. Yeah. He also picked the Warriors in 6.
Okay. So I would...
at the end of the road for the Blazers with a frowny face.
I think it's, no matter what, it's going to be super fun.
Oh, yeah.
Even the losses are going to be fun to watch.
And I think Damian Lillard will play much better in this series than he did against Denver, because I don't think Golden State... Klay Thompson and Andre Iguodala are fine defenders, but I don't think they have the team defense the Nuggets had to kind of try to lock him down. I think that's one of the reasons he struggled against the Nuggets.
And he's generally performed really well against the Warriors.
Yeah.
I think if the Blazers do lose this series in Game 6 in Portland, I think Portland's fans at the end of the game will give them a standing ovation.
Oh, absolutely.
And they should.
Yeah. All right, Jared, take it away.
You know what time it is? It is time for Rip It, and I think this is going to be the biggest game of Rip It
yes,
of all time.
Will be. There's a lot to go over here.
There's a lot to go over. That means it's time to turn it over to everyone's favorite producer and podcast game host, Max Barr. Take it away, Max.
There's the Rip It right there.
Thanks, guys. Before we dive back into everybody's favorite game, quick reminder, subscribe to 3on3 Blazers wherever you get your podcasts. If you're listening on iTunes, please rate us and leave us a review. 5 stars, please.
Yes.
Please.
Guys, it's great to be back with another week of the Rip It playoffs.
I missed you last week, Max. Even though I also was not here, I still missed you.
Thank you. I missed you guys.
It was pretty hard for me to fill in for Max. I could not do it.
You did a good job, Jared. I listened to it. Quick look at the standings. Last time we recapped Rip It,
I think it was before even the Denver series had even started, right?
Right, yeah. It was around the beginning of the Denver series. So Orlando leading the way with 6 points. Nate, you're in second with 5. Jared, you're in third with 3.
Terrible.
There we go.
But we have 15 questions
Woo,
to
baby!
recap, so
this is
a lot can happen here.
All right.
Yeah.
So for those who are new to the pod, the player with the most total correct answers during the Blazers' postseason run is going to be crowned the Rip It playoff champion.
Which has gone much longer than Orlando
Yes,
and I
yes,
anticipated
that's
here.
for sure. All right, so we've got a lot to recap from the Denver series, so let's quickly get to that. We're going to start with Game 3. That was the 4-overtime thriller.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, man.
First question for this game was, which player will grab the most rebounds in Game 3? Paul Millsap or Al-Farouq Aminu?
Oh, man.
Jared, you said Aminu. Orlando and Nate both said Paul Millsap.
Why not?
Al-Farouq Aminu, 12 rebounds.
That's pretty good.
That is good.
I think he played about 46 minutes.
Yeah.
Paul Millsap, 13.
Yeah, baby!
I'm dying on
This
the
is
vine.
razor thin.
Man.
Man.
Jared, you won the regular season Rip It, or rather the season picks, and now
And
you're here.
I'm falling far behind.
Oh, here we go.
Next question.
I'm still right on Orlando's heels. One question
Yeah.
in, 14 more to go.
This, remember, we're in the 4-OT game. Who will make the most three-pointers? Jamal Murray, Rodney Hood, or Malik Beasley?
Oh, please say I said Rodney Hood.
Nate, you did say Rodney
Oh,
Hood.
yes, he did win, right? He got
Jared,
this, right?
you said Beasley,
Oy.
and Orlando also said Beasley.
I
Well,
don't
it
know
could
if
have
that's
been
good.
Murray.
Beasley, 2 out of 5.
Not great.
Yeah.
Hood, 2 out of 3.
Oh, no, it was Murray.
It was Jamal Murray
Oh.
who went 4 for 12.
There you go.
Oh, gosh.
So nobody's getting that one.
Just keep throwing them up, man.
I'll take that.
Next question. This
So
was
no one got
interesting.
that.
Yeah, but I stayed
Oh,
even
you
right
stayed.
with you guys. I
Yeah,
didn't
you're
fall
four,
further
you're 4
behind.
back. Yeah, you
Yeah.
didn't bogey.
Next one was an over-under.
back. Ouch.
And this over-under was 8 points in Game 3 for Seth Curry.
Oh.
Jared, you said under 8. Nate and Orlando said over.
They played a lot, so hopefully he got over.
In 4 overtimes, Curry played 19 minutes
Oh,
Okay.
and scored 5 points.
Oh,
Yes.
no!
For the under.
My comeback
Oh,
begins.
man. Gosh.
Moving to
I probably
game
spoke too soon.
Game 4 now.
Yeah, I would say he didn't really have that big of a series, Seth Curry.
Nah.
Game 4 was probably his best game, and the Blazers
He had
ended up
some cute
losing it.
three-pointers, though.
First question for Game 4. Which player will score the most points? Enes Kanter, CJ McCollum, or Jamal Murray? Orlando said, he went with his buddy Enes Kanter.
Of course he did.
Nate, you said CJ, and Jared, you also said CJ
I feel
McCollum.
good about this for us, right?
I don't know. I think it might have been
CJ McCollum, 29
he's not
points.
That's not bad at all.
That's pretty good. That's in the bar
Ennis
high.
Cantor, 5 points.
Ouch, Orlando.
Jamal Murray, 34.
Oh, no.
Murray's killing you guys
Gosh,
here.
it's like what Nurkic did to us in the regular season. We refused to pick him, and he'd always get it.
Yep.
Jamal Murray.
Murray.
Once again, nobody's getting that one.
Oh, gosh. I felt good with that CJ pick.
That was a good pick. Next question. Which team will attempt more free throws in Game 4? Jared, you said the Blazers, just because they were at home.
Yeah.
Orlando agreed. He went with the Blazers. Nate, you went with the Nuggets.
Oh, I did.
I
You
think
did.
you just tied it up.
Denver attempted 28 free throws.
Ooh, baby.
The Blazers, 28 free throws.
Oh,
Are you
push!
kidding me?
Push that.
Where do you come up with these questions,
I don't know.
man?
I don't know.
Oh,
Oh,
my
man.
gosh. Man,
crazy.
Jared got me excited by being so
I thought it
certain
was.
that I had won
Because I know
that.
Denver shot more free throws in road games
Then at home.
than Portland did.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Next question. Which player will finish Game 4 with the most steals?
Oh, man.
And this was between Nikola Jokic, Damian Lillard, or Mason Plumlee. So, nobody picked Plumlee. Jared, you went with Dame. Orlando and Nate said Jokic.
Yeah. I feel
Plumlee had 1 steal.
Good
Oh,
job, Mason.
Got on the
Lillard,
board.
2 steals.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Jokic, 2 steals.
Oh, another push!
Another push.
Oh, man. Jared, you're not gaining any ground here with these.
But I'm not losing ground.
That's
that's
true. Game 5 now.
Half full.
First question here.
Silver lining.
Over under 12.5 points for Gary Harris in Game 5.
Ooh.
Orlando and
Please tell me I
Jared
went over.
said over. Nate, you went under.
Uh-oh.
And Harris scored 16 points. The over hits, and people are actually getting rip it points again.
Oh,
Thank
no.
About
Gary
time.
Harris, man. Was that like the one game he scored more than 12 points?
He was good in the series, man.
Next question, which bench player will finish with more assists in Game 5? Evan Turner or Monte Morris?
Game 5.
Nate, you went with Morris.
Uh-oh.
Jared, you went with E.T.
Oh.
Orlando said Morris.
I don't know.
Orlando didn't go with Turner?
He did not. He,
Wow.
he abandoned his old
I
friend
had
Evan
no
Turner.
idea.
So Morris, in 14 minutes, no assists.
Oh,
Come on, just give me one
No.
ET.
Evan Turner,
won.
no, kept it off for
Turner,
game 6.
in 11 minutes, dished out 2 assists.
No! Man,
Man.
Monte Morris did nothing besides
I
get fouled
think
by
I-
Maurice Harkless.
I think I chose Turner, and you made fun of me because I picked Turner to average more than 4 assists. in the
I
preseason.
did do that.
On that. Yeah.
Well, you got
It
that
worked
one.
out, it
You were
worked
wrong
out.
about the other one.
Yes, I'll take it.
Next question, which team
Slow
will
but
have a
steady.
higher
There you go.
assist to turnover ratio
Oh,
in
yeah,
Game
this one's
5? All 3 of you said the Blazers, and all 3 of you were wrong. It was Denver, who both teams really took care of the ball. Denver only 7 turnovers, the Blazers with 6. But Denver had a higher assist to turnover ratio, 3.7.
I really picked the
That's
Blazers?
Yep, all 3 of you
Wow,
did.
Blazers don't ever
It was a
assist.
sweep.
That seems weird. Okay. Well, we messed up.
Yep.
Let's
That's
see
okay.
here.
As long as I'm not losing ground.
We had a
true.
wild card
I haven't
question.
gotten many of these right yet.
You know what? I'm sorry. All 3 of you picked Denver. It was
they're
a,
all
it was a
right.
sweep the other way, so all 3 of you were right.
Okay.
Oh,
So,
yes.
my mistake
So we
there.
all get the point?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right.
Oh, I'll
So-
say that sounds more like us.
No
right?
ground won or lost either way.
Yeah.
But
That's,
That-
kind, of
that's-
that's
that-
kind of a win-win-win.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds more like us, all
yeah,
being
you were,
right.
you were all correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
All right. There was a wild card question here.
More like me.
Okay.
So this question: which game would Damian Lillard score the most points? Game 3, 4, or 5?
Oh, gosh,
Oh
please
my
say I said
gosh.
4.
You did. You said 4.
Is that right?
Jared and Orlando
not so
said
sure.
Game 3.
Oh.
So in Game 3,
Quadruple
Lillard
overtime.
in quadruple overtime. Lillard 28 points.
Oh, man, that may have been good enough.
Game 4, 28 points.
Oh, no!
And Game 5,
Ties.
22 points.
Oh, another push.
Another push.
We all got it.
Yep.
See, I told you that sounds more like us. We all got it right.
Yeah.
We are now
Get
moving
it right
to
and get
game
nothing out of it.
game
Yeah.
7.
Woo, this was a big one.
Yeah. So, first question for Game 7. Which player will score the most points? Lillard or Jokic? Jared and Nate, you both said Lillard.
Oh,
Orlando
that's
went
too
with
bad.
the Joker.
Oh no!
Easy one for Orlando.
He's building, man. He's getting further
He's
away
unbeatable,
from us, man.
29 for Jokic, 13 for Lillard.
13. Man, damn.
And they still won. That
Yeah.
is incredible.
Yeah. Next question, which team will have fewer turnovers? Jared, you said Portland. Orlando and Nate said
I
Denver.
think it was 4-4.
No, it was 4-5. Blazers with fewer turnovers.
Oh no!
They had that one last turnover.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Pretty amazing. Only 4 and
So-
5 turnovers
yeah,
in Game
that is
7.
really-
So you
Yeah.
got that right?
Yep.
Oh no! You might be up at me by now. I'm on my
I don't
level
know.
here. You're
I don't know.
close.
I'm still trailing Orlando. I know that for sure.
I've gotten further behind him.
3 more questions.
All right. come
Next
on,
one, who
finish
will have the
strong.
most rebounds in Game 7? Cantor, Millsap, or Aminu? This was another sweep. You all said Cantor, and you were all correct.
Yeah.
That
See,
works.
I said.
So when we sweep like that, do we all get the point, or is
Yeah.
it okay?
Yeah.
I mean, we're still just far behind, but the
Yeah.
numbers go higher.
Yeah,
That's right.
exactly.
Yeah.
Makes
Makes
it
it
look
seem
a little-
smarter.
Yep. Cantor had 13 rebounds, Millsap 7, Aminu 3. He only
Yeah,
played
good.
7 minutes.
Good thing.
So, next question, which team will shoot a better three-point percentage? Now, this was ugly.
Yeah.
Jared, you and Nate, you both said the Blazers.
All right.
Orlando
I
went
got
with
it.
Denver, and it was the Blazers.
Yeah.
By like 3%.
Like 15% to 10%?
15% to 11.
Yeah, baby.
It's
Four,
so bad.
4 of
I'll take the
26
win,
gets
though.
it done
Yep.
right there.
Denver
I'll take
was
the
2
win.
for 19.
Man, that's crazy.
They missed their last 7. Me and Jared were talking
Yeah.
about this because Jokic made those 2 threes in the first, and they didn't make another one after that. So I
Yep.
think they missed like 17 in a row to end the game.
So we have one left.
One left.
One left.
Wow.
Over under
We gained one on Orlando.
16 and a half offensive rebounds for Denver in Game 7.
I hope I went under.
You did go under.
Yes.
Jared and Orlando said under. Nate, you said over.
Am I right?
It was under.
No.
13 offensive rebounds for Denver. So,
All right.
got
Moment of
close.
truth. How close am
Yeah.
I?
What's the scores here?
so for those 15, we have Nate going 4 for 15.
Yeah. I did 4 of 5 the week before.
That's right.
I'm sticking. I called my shot.
You're
I got
like
4.
You're like Jamal Murray.
Yeah. Just
Orlando
sticking with
went 6 for 15.
Oh gosh, that's a plus.
And Jared, you went 8 for 15.
Wow.
To come back.
I think you're ahead of me now.
I don't know. I might
So
be tied
looking
with
at looking at the totals, Jared, you've got 11 points. Orlando's got 12.
Wow.
Nate, you've got 9. So it's anybody's game here in the
Ouch.
Western Conference Finals.
Ouch! I took a big drop there, man.
You did,
I
but
was like Rory McIlroy.
But it's still-
final round of the
yeah.
Masters.
I thought I was out of it.
No, you're right.
you're in it
Okay.
again.
Well, the Blazers need to get to the final, so we have about 15 more
Right,
of these
exactly.
to go through.
Needs to go into June.
Yeah.
All right,
We're not taking any more vacation between now and then, so we're all set, ready to
Yeah.
go.
we are caught up now with Rip It. So now we start the new game. Woo! So, quickly, this edition of Rip It is going to focus solely on Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals.
Here we go.
Orlando not here, but as usual, he texted me his answers.
Nice.
First question. It's go time.
Ooh.
Which player will score the most points in Game 1? Enes Kanter, Andre Iguodala, or Draymond Green? What do you think, Nate?
Cantor.
All right. Orlando also says Kanter.
Of course he did.
I'm also going to say Cantor.
Clean sweep.
Sweep it.
I'm not
Okay.
giving ground there.
All right. Next question. Which team will have more turnovers in Game 1? Jared, we'll start with you.
Warriors.
Nate,
Blazers.
Orlando says Blazers.
There we go. See that now I've got one on you. I still got some work to do with Orlando here to catch up. But
Next question. Which player will finish with the most rebounds? This is going to be a fun matchup. Zach Collins
Ooh,
or Kevon Looney?
nice.
oh man.
Both these guys averaging about 4 rebounds a game
And
in
they're
the
both going to
playoffs.
get minutes
Yeah.
too
Yeah.
in the series.
So what do you think, Jared?
I'll go with Looney.
All right. Orlando went with Collins.
I'm also going to go with Looney.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next question. Which player will make the most three-pointers in Game 1? Damian Lillard, Stephen Curry, or Klay
Klay
Thompson?
Oh no, you're not doing this to me.
Nate,
You're pitting Damian Lillard and Steph Curry up against my guy?
Who are you going with, Nate?
I'm going with my guy, Klay Thompson.
All right.
I'm going with Steph.
And Orlando's going Dame.
Oh, nice.
That's awesome. Can't wait to see the result of that.
Yeah.
All right.
Klay, better not let me down, baby.
In a semi-related wild card question, which team will attempt more three-pointers in Game 1?
Ooh, wow.
Which team will attempt more three-pointers? Orlando says the Warriors. Jared, what do you say?
Man, I'm having
That's
a hard time,
really
too.
tough.
I'm having a hard time also.
All right, I'm going to go with Warriors.
All right,
I'm going to
Nate?
go with Blazers.
Okay. So in the playoffs, Warriors averaging about 33 attempts, Blazers 32.
Yeah,
So it's close.
it's really close.
How many of the Warriors do we know? Do you know how many of the Warriors put up in Game 6 without Durant?
Yeah, that's a
I
good
wonder
don't.
if that
It's
number
a good
went
question.
up.
I don't
know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if that number went up.
Look that up after.
All right.
Wow. So what? So what's the where are our numbers again?
The numbers are 12 for Orlando, 11 for Jared, and 9 for you, Nate.
Hey,
Yeah.
man, dragging up the rear now.
But we're going to be back. I think we're going to do a podcast on Wednesday because these are just Rip It questions for Game 1. And
So we'll have a
questions for
recap
Game
pretty
2
soon,
again.
and we'll have some more questions on the
Yeah.
way. So
This
There
is
we
far
go.
from over, Nate.
Hey, man, I didn't call my shot this go. That's what I need to do. I did best when I called a high number.
You need to say, Rip it over.
Rip it. No, series over is what happened on that one.
I remember.
But, no, so the good stuff there, Max.
Yes,
Thank you.
very good
Thank
stuff.
Yeah.
I'm all happy because of my comeback.
yeah.
You were.
I thought I was done.
Yeah, you were. You were pretty down in the dumps last
I was.
time we did a results-oriented Rip It. But yeah, now you're glowing. I can see it. Do you want to change your pick and say the Blazers are going to beat the Warriors now? Do you feel that good?
I did think, like, when I was going back and forth, like, the whole time I was like, the Warriors are going to win this. But I was like, I might just pick the Blazers just because.
Yeah.
Because why not? You know, they've
Why not be wrong?
exceeded expectations every step of the way. Why not pick the Blazers? And then I chickened out and didn't.
Yeah. They do seem to be a team of destiny. That's
Yeah.
for sure. Now, how far this road takes them. yet
Here's
to be
one thing to
determined.
keep an eye on. Durant, we know about his injury, but the Warriors are really banged up.
Yeah.
Steph Curry is hurt. Iguodala is hurt. Klay Thompson is
Klay,
hurt.
yeah.
Draymond is hurt. Sean Livingston's hurt. I mean, the Blazers are dealing with bumps and bruises of their own, but I think this series is going to be more competitive than a lot of people on the national landscape think.
And I texted this to Orlando last night. I said, this is a terrible way to think. But in the playoffs, you never know
Yeah.
that the Blazers could be an injury away, potentially, from, we talked about the talent discrepancy between the two teams. But with Kevin Durant already on the sidelines, injuries happen. And I'm not rooting for anyone to get hurt.
Of course not.
But conceivably, the Blazers are an injury away from being on, talent-wise, just a level playing field. And if that ends up becoming the case, you feel really good if you're a Blazers fan with the heart and grit this team has shown.
Yeah. One more thing, Art Edwards.
Oh,
I asked
yes.
him for his pick before we
He's
came
also
in here.
picked the Blazers in both series.
He
I
picked the
believe.
Blazers in 6.
Oh, again?
Yep.
Man, I gave him a
love
hard time when he said Blazers in 6 with Oklahoma City. I may
Yeah.
have to replicate that this go-around.
I'm starting to wonder now if I should have picked the Blazers.
Yeah. Well,
Let's end this podcast before I do something I'll regret.
Good idea.
Good life advice right there, just in general. So thank you everyone for listening. We'll see. This is fun.
Where can they find you on Twitter?
At nhands_KGW, and you, Jared.
At Jared Cowley. And Max, where can they find you?
You can find me at Max N Bar. And shout out to all the Rip It fans out there. Let us know what your picks are, how you're doing.
Yeah.
And we love seeing other people enjoying this game. So
Just don't brag if you're doing better than me, because I don't want to hear it. So thank you everyone for listening, and we'll talk to you again soon here.
Thanks, guys.